Hey guys, what's going on? So, no, you are not experiencing deja vu. I am doing the Surt boss again. The reason being because the last one I did, I kind of mentioned it in the comments, and I don't know, I may have cut it out of like the beginning of the video, but the team I was running was more of like experimental to see like if that ice damage team focused around Phoebe would be able to kind of output more than like the puppet team. And since I'd done this Surt video so many times because he's been around so much, I wanted to try something a little bit different. But then going back to do kind of more runs for like our regular kind of guild scoring, I found that when I removed King Frost and kind of went back to like the normal puppet team, I actually ended up getting like almost like 4 million more points. And if it was only like 1 million points, I probably wouldn't have bothered making the video again. But considering in this cycle where like the Mara scores are pretty low and this Surt score is going to be like a lot of your scoring, if you do care about scoring at all, like 4 out of 1 million points in this cycle is like 10-15% of your total score. So I was like, you know what? I don't really have any videos planned anyway. Let me just make another one. So if you don't care, feel free to skip this one. But it is a bit different from not just what I did last video, which was kind of more like an experimental team. It's different from like some of the other Surt bosses as well. So here's the team. We have Rin 1, Yuki 2, Fox 3, Wonder 4, with Puppet as the Navi. And the main difference here from kind of what our normal Fox team for the other Surt bosses has been is, one, I'm using the Ex Machina dagger. I think personally I did runs with All In and Ex Machina, this exact same team, exact same rotation, and I got basically the exact same score, except for Yamato no Orochi did a little bit more damage with Ex Machina on the last Wonder turn, and I think it got me an extra like 30,000 points. But honestly, I think All In or Ex Machina are like, at least fully forged. All In versus, 3 forge shards on Ex Machina is basically like identical, and you can use whichever one you want. I don't think it matters at all. Where the changes did come in is with the personas for Wonder. So still using Yamato no Orochi, same as last video, but like I said, I noticed kind of in my running that it felt like I was doing just like way more damage whenever I would go to Dionysus. And so I ultimately just removed King Frost from the team entirely and ran Dionysus, Mithras, and Yamato no Orochi originally. And then Matty B in our guild, who you've probably heard the name before, if you couldn't tell by if you've heard his name from a few of the videos, he gives me lots of good ideas. And he mentioned using Ame no Uzume. Her passive, I'll kind of explain it when we get into the persona, but her passive actually works really well on this team, especially considering we're going for like more of just a flat like crit buffing team than a defense buffing team now. But yeah, so if you're like super trying to like min-max your score, apologies that like the last video, I may private it, I don't know, I may just leave it up, I don't know, who knows, I might just change the name to like old and I'll leave this one at new or whatever. This for me was like, my score went up like 10-15%, and 10-15% in this cycle, like I said, could mean a lot to you in your for like your guild scoring, for your personal scoring. So I'm gonna do another video on it, and like I said, I don't have a ton of other videos to make for like the next 8 days or whatever till this patch cycle ends. So just gonna go ahead and make it. If you feel like watching it, go ahead. If not, I get it. This fight has been kind of done to death at this point with Surt. So, but yeah, kind of like what I said in the last video, if you watched that, Yamato no Orochi, you can make an argument Jack Frost is better. I think that his Raging Blizzard just overall gave him a little bit more damage for me with his single target highlight versus Jack Frost's AoE highlight and kind of the weaker AoE attack with his Mabufu. Dionysus, kind of the standard. We're just going to need Revolution and Rebellion on him. And then again, shout out to Matty B on this, because I didn't even know that her passive did this. Basically, we're just using her for the passive, right? When a foe is shocked, increase party's crit rate 10%, and this stands. Like, some of these fall off, like when the persona's not equipped. This one does not. So it like applies the crit rate up, and then you can switch back to Dionysus, which is why I think this is so useful. And her Electric Dance gives a 100% chance to inflict shocks. And then my builds here are like basically the same as they were in the last video. Fox running Meditation and Opulence, Rin running Departure and Control, Yuki running Trust and Prosperity. You will need Prosperity on somebody, either her or Rin. I recommend Yuki in this. If you want to follow the highlights the same way I'll be using them in the video. And then Puppet will be using Faith and Peace. But yeah, again, final note, like, you can use All In Dagger or Ex Machina here. It does not really matter. I got like an extra 50,000 with Ex Machina, which frankly could just be random RNG from Fox, like following up an extra time. So I don't know if it makes any difference at all whatsoever. It might be slightly worse even, but it's just kind of what I'm going to be running here. But yeah, otherwise, yeah, let's get into it. All right, so back at it again here. Free follow-ups. I kind of like determined Fox, like his follow-up on these, like good or bad RNG. Like if he follows up on 3 of the jack-o'-lanterns, that's kind of like where I I counted like good or bad RNG. I don't know if that's like, I don't know what the odds are really of him hitting, 2 versus 3, but that's kind of where I put my marker. Anyway, Rin, we'll start with skill 3. Again, if you're A0, just flip it around every time I use S3, you use S1 and vice versa. Yuki will go ahead and use Sacred Glow on Fox. Fox will use Kenai. And then Wonder will switch to Dionysus, and we'll start with Rebellion. And we'll see how lucky Fox wants to make us here. 1 for 1 so far. 2 for 2. 3 for 3. Alright, I'll count this as a win. The last one would just be a bonus here, pretty much. And of course, I shouldn't have said anything. Alright, so now Puppet, we'll go ahead and use skill 1. Rin, skill 1. Again, you'll do the opposite if you're A0. Yuki's going to highlight one of the jack-o'-lanterns. And then she'll go ahead and use her skill 3. Yusuke will use Bone Chilling Cold. And then Wonder, we're going to switch to Ame no Uzume, and we'll use Electric Dance on one of the jack-o'-lanterns. So he gets the shock, and you'll see everyone just got the 10% crit rate up for 2 turns. He really would like Fox to follow up on both of those. Of course, he doesn't. He only does 1, so... Oh, no, there was... No, he didn't do it anyway. Alright, so already kind of like some bad luck here, but whatever. Rin, back to skill 3 now. Fox should be able to follow up every time now with this highlight. Something I didn't mention, well, I'll get to like when the highlight's up, I guess. Yuki will go ahead and use her Sacred Glow on Fox. Fox, back to Kenai. Alright, so usually I like to have like the main person who's attacking, like Fox is the main damage dealer here. I usually like to have them go last. But considering Fox is like a follow-up unit, there's actually merit to him not going last and Wonder going last. Because like in this specific scenario, Fox will get an extra turn because his turn has already passed. When we use his highlight here, it doesn't count as like a turn used up of his follow-up. Because like it's not based on like how many times they go, it's based on how many times Fox has a turn. So like if you use the highlight before Fox's turn and then he uses, Kenai, that counts as like a turn of this being active. Whereas if you use it after, it doesn't. So he'll get like, you'll see in a second. So he'll have guaranteed follow-up now for the rest of the fight versus, for like their next 3 attack turns versus just their next 2 if you had used it on his turn. So if he was going last, like, again, like the last turn of them attacking, you'd be back to kind of the RNG of like, will Fox follow up or not? This is just like a more consistent damage thing. And it doesn't really matter because Fox's damage is coming from the follow-ups for the most part anyway. So you're not losing a ton by having him, like miss out on Wonder's buff before he attacks like Queen might if she was going. But we are going to go ahead and use Puppet first. We want to make sure we use Puppets. We'll use skill 2 on Fox. We just want to get like as many seashells on Fox as possible. And then we'll go ahead and use Fox's highlight. Doesn't matter on who. And then Wonder will switch back to Revolution. And part of the reason we used Ame like in between Dionysus rather than like Rebellion, then Revolution, then Ame is because Rebellion 1, Ame 2, Revolution 3 will let us stack all 3 of those crit buffs each time Fox uses his skill 3 for the rest of the fight. So like he's got right now, he's still got Rebellion for a turn, and he has the crit rate up for 10. Now we're gonna put Revolution on. He's gonna have all 3 when he follows up now. And then we'll be able to like repeat the same again for his next skill 2 or his next skill 3. Whereas if we had done this like a different way, he would not be able to like stack all 3 of them for both actions. And we don't really have to worry about the RNG now, which is nice because of the highlight. So, all right, Rin will go back to skill 1 now. Yuki, back to skill 3. Fox, Bone Chilling Cold. Yeah, I'm like a little behind pace of where I'd been. I think Fox just like not great follow-up luck. Now with Dionysus, we'll go back to Rebellion and kind of reapply that on Fox. Alright, so now Rin will go ahead and use skill 3. Wonder will go ahead and use his highlight for the damage up here. Yuki will use Sacred Glow on Fox. Puppet's up again, so now we'll use Puppet's skill 3. Fox will use Kenai. And then again, the way we've done this, Rebellion, we just reapplied. Revolution should still have 1 turn left, and now we're going to apply Ame's crit up again. We're going to use Ame's crit up. I usually like to attack the Jack-o'-lanterns, but because, like, I think I've mentioned this in other Surt fights, because Surt's, like, base defense is just much higher than them, and they all give the same score, like, there's no multiplier on Surt versus these guys, we actually would rather waste, like, a stack of Rin's Spider Lily on Surt than we would these guys, just because you'll end up doing so much more damage on them anyway. So we're going to target Surt with this, and it doesn't matter who gets the shock. As long as someone's shocked, you get the crit up. Let's see if Fox can get us to like 7 million before this last action. I don't think he will. I think we'll be behind by a little bit. Yeah, we'll be like way behind. Okay, so this has not been like my best luck run here. So Underworld Fairy now with Rin. Yuki back to skill 3. Fox, Bone Chilling Cold. Now Wonder will go ahead and... don't want to do that. We want to switch to Yamato no Orochi. We'll use his highlight. And then we'll go ahead and use Raging Blizzard. And I'm like 200 shy of my score, so it'll be... this will be definitely worse than my other scores, but yeah, definitely not my best. I think my best with this exact team was like 32-8. But still, even with this, with like, I think like pretty subpar luck, this is still like 3.5 million points better than the last one I did. If you are chasing score, I think that's worth it in this cycle. Like I said, that's like almost like a 15% bump from the last score. But yeah, so hopefully, you know, if you care about, you know, min-maxing score kind of as much as you can within reason, like this is definitely a nice upgrade from my last one. So if you want to give this like one shot, give it one run, I like guarantee you'll get at least an extra million or two, even with like the worst luck possible. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you next time. And thanks for watching, and have a good one.